Infotainment Talk Radio, a podcast about vehicles. You love vehicles. We love vehicles. Let's talk. Infotainment Talk Radio with your hosts, Doug and Joel.
And we got Tyhler as well in there.
Infotainment Talk Radio.
I am Joel. Welcome to Infotainment Talk Radio. We do love your vehicle also. On this show, we've got a great little ode to all things Jeep setup. On the telephone line, I got a joint call going with Doug and Tyhler. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. How are you guys doing?
Hey, not too bad. Not too bad.
Staying safe?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, we're wiping down this office pretty regularly, and let people know I'm calling from the home studio here. Doug's at home office and Tyler's at a home office, and we're still keeping busy, so that's good.
Yeah. Typically, we're 6 feet apart. Now I'm probably 6 miles apart, and Tyler's probably 60 miles apart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We are social distancing for sure on this episode, but glad to be able to do it. I know, a lot of people in the world are just generally passionate about Jeeps, and what they do and, the things that they love them for. So there was a big Jeep event to be scheduled here. It was scheduled in April. It's actually this week, a Jeep Beach event, and unfortunately that has been canceled. So what we're doing in lieu of that is we're actually doing an edition dedicated to the Jeep. And Jeep Wrangler, I guess, specifically is kind of the primary model. We love Jeep Renegades and Grand Cherokees, that cool looking, classic Jeep grill everybody's familiar with. But as we open up here, I thought it'd be interesting. Do you guys, I've owned a Jeep Grand Cherokee. It was like an 09. I had it for about 4 or 5 years or something like that. I love that thing. But did you, either you guys, Doug, you ever own a Jeep? Well, I know you own the JL there. Yeah.
Yeah. So my first Jeep was a JK.
Okay.
And, actually, let me back up. I also owned a Grand Cherokee in high school.
Yeah.
So that was a great car, 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
It was great. All-wheel drive, actually. It was a great Jeep.
Yeah.
Had that for a while. And then I bought a JK, a 2012 JK, several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fun car. We were doing a lot of really cool stuff with that. And then a 2012 JK Sahara Unlimited. And then when the JL was released in 2018, I picked up one of those Sport and Unlimited. Great Jeep, did a lot of stuff to it, and never looked back. Awesome vehicle.
Yeah. What about you, Tyhler?
I never owned a Jeep, but I've driven plenty, and I've had the pleasure of driving the company JL for a good month while we were working on the new body Ram, and I don't know, it's just such a blast to drive the thing, and unfortunately it was cold weather when I was driving it, but all I was thinking is man, I just want to take this top down, the doors off, and go to the beach, right here in Jacksonville. But that day will come. It will come
someday soon. Yeah. We'll be allowed outside again one day. It'll be great.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, Infotainment.com, is a vendor out there at Jeep Beach. So the dates have been moved to September 11th through the 13th of this year. So Jeep Beach date, if you don't get a chance to do it over the summer, you definitely have a chance to do it right there in Daytona Beach. For the JeepBeach.com is the website, and you can go find out all about that. So on this edition, we thought let's do kind of a virtual history, a tour of Jeep, because they are really one of the oldest, classic American names in automobiles. And we got a cool history here from the Jeep.com website. And it goes all the way back to the 40s. And I thought, hell, let's try to do, just this little flashback, of Jeep. So you guys ready to go into the tour? I'll kick off the music and we'll get into the first decade of Jeep.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Start rolling.
All right. Here we go. 1940s. We're rolling into the first decade of the Jeep. Doug or Tyler, you want to take us on to that first one?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I can do it. Or Doug, you want
to? Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, we're in the 1940s. Now, born in the heat of the battle, the go anywhere, do anything Jeep.
Yeah.
The brand new 4x4 emerged a hero to thousands of Allied soldiers around the world. The equally heroic civilian Jeep vehicles of the 1940s firmly established the Jeep brand as the undisputed leader in 4x4 technology.
Yeah. Because before that, it was just kind of like a Model T type of looking vehicle, right? This thing is all terrain. Yeah, the other one's designed like they didn't even have a whole bunch of paved roads, I guess, right? Back, in the early 1900s, early 2000s, however you phrase that correctly. What do you know about that 4x4 technology, Doug?
It's pretty neat, just being kind of the pioneers and innovators in it, when the Jeep brand came out back then. Like you said, there's not a lot of asphalt pavement and it's perfect, you're using these things down dirt roads and, especially for the military, you're driving these things through everything. And that's really how the brand really started. It's the go anywhere, do anything, way of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was the birth of an icon for sure.
Yeah, and there's a little bit more history on that site as to origins, but moving past the 40s, then Doug will take us into the 50s, and is now coming into the 50s. All right, what do we got on that?
Yep, going into the 50s, they saw a rise of the recreation vehicle, as well as the engineering superiority. Grassroots enthusiasts helped launch Jeep Jamborees and took the original Freedom machine to the new heights in sales thanks to 7 unique models. That's in the 1950s.
Jeez, 50s through 60s. So Elvis is coming out and they're like, we got to get this vehicle out into the consumer market, right?
Yep.
And that's the civilian Jeep. You don't even think, when something's built for war like that, I guess you don't even think like, oh, hey, look, now we can bring this technology to you guys, to use just in your day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
So cool. So then it says they released 7 unique models back then for the civilian market. And that's, I guess, where that CJ terminology kind of comes from.
Yeah, there was a bunch of different ones, there in the 50s. And actually it ended up becoming the world's largest maker of 4-wheel drive vehicles during that era. Very cool.
Yeah, cool
stuff.
I'm
liking how the spare tire is mounted on the side.
Yeah, we got an image in our notes here that we can all see, and it's this classic, it looks like bluebird blue kind of a color, Jeep, and that thing looks like it's got some great suspension and struts. But yeah, the spare tire is like on the side there, and there's literally no roof. There's nothing.
That's the CJ5, CJ6.
Yeah. See, I wish I knew him that well. I don't know. Well, you see Jeeps, you do see Jeeps like that out at the Jeep Beach event, jeepbeach.com.
Oh, yeah.
People bring their classics out. Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of more current ones, though. So, all right. So as we keep on rolling through time, we're going into the 60s now. So, all right. And read some of this. The all-new Jeep Wagoneer represented unparalleled refinement and innovation. Prestige and individuality ruled the day. The Jeep brand lineup grew to include 14 models for work, play, recreation, and luxuriously capable transportation. So 1960 to 1969. And when you see those, they do look a little bit more sportier, a little cooler. The curves, they're a little more curvier, not as boxier, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little more aesthetically pleasing to the eye, but.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, that's really what was really cool about that era is like you mentioned initially, the Wagoneer, and the Wagoneer and the Gladiator came out in 63, and those, man, they ran production on both of those for a real long time. The Wagoneer from 63 to 91 and the Gladiator from 63 to 87. So that was a great success for them.
Well, you almost
great classic cars.
Look at something like that too, and it was really even a precursor to station wagon concepts. Station wagons were going on that day. which is a kind of a predecessor to like a SUV or a minivan or, something where, the country is, leveraging, multiple big family, type of stuff. So it's interesting to see, cause Jeeps have always been kind of compact by nature. But as they grew, the Wagoneer, that kind of was a sign of the times with the bigger cars. I mean, some of the cars that I drove in as a kid were like a boat. Yeah, I could like put on a 1-act play in the back seat. It was so big. It was like I had a backstage area. I was like, all right, come on. We got props over here. I'm like doing Romeo and Juliet for this girl I liked. Anyway, no, that's I'm going way too out there. But traveling with the family, doing it in a fun vehicle, traveling with people in a vehicle like a Jeep is always a memorable experience.
Well, the other thing that was really cool about the Wagoneer when it came out is you have to realize that Suburban, the Chevy Suburban was out, and they had great success with it. So similar to what they do nowadays, if one automaker comes out with something that's very popular,
sure.
Other automakers will follow suit. So that's really a big emphasis that Jeep had on the Wagoneer. They really wanted to compete with the Suburban that was doing fantastic.
I didn't realize how many models they actually had. You think Jeep, you think one, you think the Wrangler. I guess a lot of people would say Jeep, right? What do they think?
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. A lot of times when you say, I had an old Jeep, you're thinking, okay, what was it? A TJ, a YJ, what was it?
Right.
A Wrangler, But it's pretty neat. 60s,
man. Looking at these 60s Wagoneers, it's like I want to get one of these so bad.
Man,
I know we saw a couple like at the work truck show, or there was a couple at SEMA this year, and it's like those things were so awesome to look at here. I'm just going through.
Yeah, the look.
And then you get the wood paneling going here in the 80s.
The old wood.
Right.
Man.
Tyler talking there, Doug prior to that, and I am Joel. It is Infotainment Talk Radio. Thanks for hanging with us. We're in the middle of going through really the decade span of Jeep on this episode, All Things Jeep. So we appreciate you hanging with us, and let's go into the 70s now. Hold on. Am I prepared? I got to get prepared. Everyone, there it is. Hold on. All right. Right. We're in the 70s now. All right. That's good. All right. We're definitely in the 70s now. So let's see. Who wants to take that one? Doug?
I'll take it.
Cool.
I'll go. So, the Jeep brand's 4x4 leadership continues in the 70s with the introduction of the first full-time 4x4 system. The sporty two-door full-size Cherokee, the SJ, sweeps the 4x4 of the Year awards. 6 models helped elevate sales to all-time highs.
Damn. And that was the 70s and 80s, and that is pictured down below. That's still a classic. Man, I mean, I bet you, some of those in pristine condition would probably fetch a pretty penny with Jeep enthusiasts.
Oh, man. Every year in February in Orlando, they have the Mecum car auction. And I love going there just to see the old classic cars. And it's not, when you think of Mecum, you're thinking of, old Corvettes and old Mustangs, stuff like that. But, man, if you see all the Jeeps there, you'd be amazed. And they're, like you said, if they're in pristine condition, I mean, they're selling for $80,000, $90,000, $100,000.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And, those things will run pretty well, too. A lot of the stuff today, whereas more integrated with computers, so therefore, can, have issues if, there are crucial, features or functions predicated on those computers. These vehicles, right, 70 to 80, as we know, it was probably about the 80s, they really started to get into, putting more telematics, different things into the vehicle. But that 70 to 80 year, I mean, anything produced back then, that's just really well engineered, straightforward engine. You can still get the parts, I think.
Oh, yeah. It was also interesting on the article that they talk about the AMC years. In '69, Jeep started a Jeep Great Escape advertising campaign showing the variety of recreational vehicles. But they sold it to AMC in 1970 for $75 million. Four-wheel drive vehicles were becoming very popular by 78, and AMC was building 600 a day.
Oh, wow.
And then in 72, Quadra-Track 4x4 system was introduced as the first automatic full-time four-wheel drive system. So that definitely was a big game changer for them too. That full-time four-wheel drive system, it's automatic. They hadn't had that before. So that was cool. And then, in 76, Jeep introduced the CJ7, which was an awesome vehicle.
I love that they innovated the market like that.
Yeah. It's crazy how it all transpired, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you never really think, oh, hey, this little, necessity during a wartime would turn into, such a modern innovation, especially for, recreational or civilian use.
Yeah.
All right, so there we go. So now that was the 70s. We're still talking about the Jeep and their histories. We're about to bust into the 80s. I think Doug's ready to do one of these going into the 80s. So let me get what. All right, we're in the 80s now. That's for sure.
Now we're in the 80s.
Don Henley going on. That's for sure.
So in the
nighttime
80s,
cruising in the beach.
Yeah,
nighttime cruising.
Got the top down. Yeah, that was a good song, though.
So in the 80s, the all-new Jeep Cherokee, the XJ, helped revolutionize the four-wheel drive market. The XJ introduced many industry firsts, including the first compact four-door SUV, first uniframe construction, and first full-time 4x4 system with shift-on-the-fly capability.
Dang.
And, man, is that a classic car. That Jeep Cherokee. Looking at that thing, I remember those things driving around growing up, and that was a great success for them.
Yeah.
That was great, and also in the 80s, they discontinued the CJ series and they introduced an all new Jeep Wrangler YJ in 86.
Wow.
And a year later in 87, AMC was sold to Chrysler Corporation, and the Jeep brand became part of the Chrysler Corporation's Jeep Eagle division.
Oh. No.
Jeep Eagle.
Jeep Eagle.
Man, I remember Eagles. Eagle Talons.
The Eagle Talon. That was actually my first car. Eagle Talon.
Oh, really? Yeah, well, I love that you brought up about the AMC years, because I had almost totally forgotten about that. And that was kind of confusing. Like they sold off like a division for, of their company. And it was like, hey, these look exactly. Oh, but they're not. Now they're owned by this company. It could get confusing, I guess, especially when you're young and you're, doe-eyed. Like, what is happening? But the 80s, I remember that was the classic look of that damn, was that the Commander? What was that called? The Sport, the SUV type of looking vehicle.
You mean the Grand Wagoneer or the Cherokee?
Well, this, I think, is the Cherokee.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, and people even today still trick them out and they lift them. They get them lifted like this. Yeah.
Really neat vehicles. But I'd say the biggest thing in that era is definitely the Wrangler YJ. When that came out, man, now it's really geared towards consumers, and it was a nice vehicle. That was 86 as an 87 model, and they ran that for 10 years.
They also had like a pickup at that time, like a
Comanche.
Is that what it was called? Comanche? Yeah.
Yeah. In 86, Comanche.
Yeah. You can see some of those running around on the roads
from
time to time.
Neat.
And now they're even bringing that back with the more current ones, what LJ or something like that. The newer releases I saw, I think they're bringing those back.
The Comanche.
I don't know if it's...
when I think of...
Yeah.
When I think of 80s summer, I'm thinking like that was like the, when the spring break started really coming out, and
right.
I'm just thinking like the main vehicle was the Jeep Wrangler. It was like that was the vehicle you brought to Daytona.
Yeah, you needed to be riding in a Jeep. Yeah, a girl in a bikini next to you.
That's how you pick up the chick.
Yeah, exactly.
A YJ with the top off.
That's right. That's all you needed. Yeah.
Got some Don Henley playing.
Did he run after you? Yeah, there you go. There we go. Completing the field. All right. We're driving out of the 80s now in a YJ on Daytona Beach. It's so good. But what? It was coming down. It's coming down the other side of the highway. It looks like Vanilla Ice. No, wait. Here come the 90s. Oh, no. Here they go. So that was good coverage of the 80s. And now going into the 90s, they are starting up here. So I know... there you go. All right. There we go. It's 1990 now. All right. Now we're full up in the 90s. Thank you, Jazzy Jeff, Fresh Prince, for that. And let's see. I can do the 90s here. Let's go. That is good to hear. I was in Daytona Beach in the 90s. That's where I graduated from, Daytona. And
oh, nice.
Jeep at that point, the all-new 1993 Jeep Grand Cherokee ZJ set a new industry benchmark thanks to its unique balance of on- and off-road capability. The super capable Wrangler TJ with its new coil suspension was introduced in 97, and in 1999 the new Grand Cherokee WJ was marketed as the most capable SUV ever. Sales soared to 629,000 units for the decade. It was sold well over 500,000 of those.
Man, those Grand Cherokees. I mean, that's really when, like you just said, they sold so many of those. But just looking at that picture brings me back.
Man, yeah.
You know, I remember like a family friend of ours.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was it. That model.
I think it looked exactly like that. Yeah, it kind of looked like the.
Yeah. That was such an awesome vehicle. I remember when they first came out, your jaw kind of dropped. You're like, oh my gosh, this is like the nicest SUV I've ever seen, you know?
Yeah, because it was a little bit higher, you know, where the Cherokee kind of was sat a little, you know, more to the ground almost.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it had that, you know, boxy, jutted up, but yet, yeah, what a great looking vehicle, man. I mean, it really was. You remember, and this is probably right around the time where people, you know, if you saw somebody driving a Volvo, you were like, oh, that's fancy. You know, you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know, so the Jeep grill in my you know, opinion kind of had that sophisticated look about it. You know, that European cars had, to a degree. So, you know, I always thought that grill of the Jeep looked really regal. Anyway, but I'm kind of romanticizing. I had that vehicle. I kind of ran it. Yeah. It ran for years and years and years though. And that's again, going back to the good engineering.
Lasted
right?
forever. You know, lasted forever. I remember too, that model of the Jeep Grand Cherokee. I don't know if you remember getting into one that was maybe a limited, like if you bought a Laredo, you know, had cloth seats and regular steel wheels. But if you had the limited, I think it was, I remember the seats in those things were like sofas. They were so comfortable in the ZJs, you know, in the late 90s. It was, I mean, it was
plush, something
that was amazing. But also in that era, you know, obviously the Wrangler TJ came out.
Right.
1997 model. And another one of those Jeeps, you know, a step up from the YJ as far as technology and whatnot. Those were great sellers as well.
Yeah.
I feel like you started seeing so many of the Grand Cherokees now in like movies. I don't know why, but I always think of like This Is Doubtfire or like, you know, all the True Lies and like everyone like it was like the family vehicle. It was like everyone had the Grand Cherokee now. That was the family SUV now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Well, and they were still kind of cloaked a little bit with the product placement like that in movies. You know, it wasn't as you know, obvious as it is today, or you know, like in a Austin Powers movie where he's clearly saying this is our sponsor, you know, and making fun of it throughout the film. But at any rate, talking about all things Jeep on this edition of Infotainment Talk Radio. Doug and Tyler are at their individual home offices, and I am here in the studio, and we are just right up at the end of the 90s here, talking about Jeeps. Any other innovations from the Wrangler, TJ, anything like that you guys want to jump in before we go into what I guess will be this final kind of jaunt here? Well, 2010 to present, that's a couple of decades since it's 2020 now. So we can kind of come up into current day, though. But any closing, any saying goodbye to the 90s over there?
The only thing I would throw in is the TJ, as opposed to the YJ. The TJ used the 4-link coil suspension and then featured a new interior. And if you've seen the interior between the two, I mean, the TJ was an amazing interior compared to the YJ. And I remember a buddy in college, a good friend of mine, had one. And I was like, oh, my gosh, this thing is
just
nice,
you can notice.
You know?
Yeah, you can notice it's like it went from utility vehicle to, wow, we could go out on the town in this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, there you go. And then we're going to go, what is this last section here for our history? 2010. Oh, wait, we went from the 90s. What happened to the 2000s? Anyway, all right, we jump right up. Do we have it on the page? No, I don't see it. That's my bad. Anyway, we're jumping it right up.
I got 2000s here. I can jump in. I can throw in for the 2000s.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep. So in 2001, the new Jeep Cherokee KJ replaced the long-lived XJ. The 7-passenger Jeep Commander was introduced in 2006. The Compass and Patriot and the Wrangler Unlimited JK were all introduced in 2007.
Yeah.
And then all new Jeep Cherokee KK was introduced in 2008. So there was a lot going on in that era, you know. And Chrysler Group entered into a global alliance with Fiat, and that was in 2009. So that was a big time period as well. But you know, kind of going through some of the models in that era, the Jeep Liberty, that was big, 2002 to 2007. You've seen several of those. Man, they were selling those like crazy.
It was like such, that just real quick to touch on like the Liberty or the compact Jeeps, women drivers, you know, there are Jeep women drivers and enthusiasts, but women drivers really love those little, compact Jeeps.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're ideal for everyone.
Then,
anyway,
the Grand Cherokee too. I mean, they did that body change in 2005, and man, that was a huge step for them in 2005 from 5 to 10. The WK, you know, the interior on those were amazing. The Commander was short lived, 2006 to 10, and they killed that off, but. I actually owned a Commander. I totally forgot about that. I owned a Commander for a little bit.
Those were cool.
I don't know if Tyler remembers that. I had a old Commander, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had that. The Compass and Patriot were introduced in that time. I mean, if you think about what happened in 2006 and 2007, they had just released the Grand Cherokee, the new body. They introduced the Commander, the Compass, the Patriot. And then they introduced the new Wrangler and Wrangler Unlimited. I mean, that time period was so big for them. Yeah. You know, that 2006, 2007 mark. They really did a lot there. And the Jeep Liberty did a body refresh in 2008. So that was...
See, I'm glad we didn't miss it then. Nice. Yeah, because that 0 to 10, that was a pretty pivotal year. And like you said, I mean, that was, you know, things were crashing in the economy near the end, and they made that union with Fiat, it kind of kept things going. Yeah. I mean, that was a crazy time, but, I love the fact that, you know, the innovation keeps pouring out. And I do adore the Jeep brand. When you look back at it romantically, like we're doing here, like decade by decade, it really is, a great American, brand.
Oh man, big time!
Yeah,
great.
Those
sure.
In the 2000s to 2010s, it like for me, it takes. I mean, not to get romantic about it, but it takes me back to like you know the beginning of the company. You know when was it around 08, 09, and you're just like for us, you know, and it's like learning about the Wrangler JK, the Compass, the Patriot, the Commander, all those vehicles were like right around that time, and all, with all of the MyGig upgrades that we were doing. So it's just, I always think back to that when I see those vehicles.
Yep.
And that's
that was definitely a R&D was cranking back then, because for the first time when they released all of these vehicles in 06, 07, that's really when the technology started taking off, because before that, you had plain Jane cluster, plain Jane radio, AM, FM.
Right.
There wasn't really a whole lot of electronics. But, man, 06, 07, they really turned the corner and made some great partnerships with Alpine and Kicker and stuff like that. And they really started bringing some great technology. Delphi was involved, and it was Continental. They all worked together to really bring great technology in these vehicles in that time period as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Navigation was being standardized, so relatively new, touchscreen navigation. Before that, you had joysticks and, a smaller system, even those RB1s. So, I mean, you're exactly right. It's a constant striving. I wonder what we're going to be like a future Jeep. We're going to be driving in a damn pod. Doesn't even touch the ground. Like, this is our hover Jeep. I don't know. I mean, people, that's the class. You want to stay close to the road and be able to just get all around the road. Maybe they'll have a hover mode. I don't know. We're in 2020. Where's our laser guns? Anyway.
There should be at least a hoverboard by now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know. Tyler, I agree. Anyway. So 2010, Tyler, you want to take us from there up to current?
Yeah. Will do.
Oh, let me I got music for that one. Hold on. Wait. Here we go.
Okay. Oh, now we're definitely in the present.
We're in the present or future.
So the Jeep brand resonates with consumers around the world as global sales increase to their highest point in its over 75-year history, with 1.41 million units sold worldwide for just 2016. Yes. Strategic launches of all new Grand Cherokee, Renegade, and Compass vehicles contributed greatly to its success. Wow, that's a lot of units right there.
Exactly.
I mean, if you look at just the Wrangler itself and how many of those they sold after 2010, each year before then. So 2008, they sold 84,000. 2009, they sold 82. 2010, they sold 94,000.
Right.
Starting in 2011, it was 122,000, 141,000, 155, 175. Then in 2015, they broke 200. They sold 202,000 Wranglers.
Wow.
In 2015. So, I mean, geez, that alone, I mean, you're talking about years before then. They were selling 60, 70, 60, 70, kind of going back and forth. And then they're double, tripling what they used to sell, And then their highest ever was in 2018. They sold 240,000 Wranglers in 2018. Just amazing,
Wow. Unreal. I mean, and that's the kind of enthusiasm. And that's not even overseas, or is that global? Do you know?
I would imagine that would be, total.
Global?
Well, actually, no, I take that back. I'm sorry. That's just in the United States.
Okay. Yeah, see?
That's just the United States. If you put Canada into 2018, they sold 24,000. So, you're talking over 160,000 vehicles, 265,000 in just U.S. and Canada, But, man, that was such a great era for sales. Tyler mentioned the Cherokee. They did another refresh in 2014, the KL. They introduced the Renegade, which was really neat to see that in 15, and they redid the Compass in 17, So, man, big-time sellers.
And the Renegade looks cool. It's got, I like about the Jeeps, the grill. The front, the look. How does the front look? Just the aesthetic of it, for me. So when you've got like those little Renegades, those boxy little Renegades, those are cool little vehicles. You think too, but they will never replace that Wrangler. That Wrangler with the JL, and then now they're bringing out stuff like the Gladiator. It's like I feel like this year, or this last few years in particular, they're kind of like they did lighting up the compact Jeeps for the ladies back, in what maybe the 2000s. Now they're kind of lighting up these compact and different the Gladiators, the muscly vehicle for guys now. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, because I want one of those little damn trucks now that looks like a Comanche or whatever. I want one of those damn things. It's not very practical. It's only two-person seating. Probably guzzles gas. Anyway, I'm just rampaging over here about.
I'm starting to see those Gladiators all over the place now, or when I was actually on the road.
I want a damn Grand Cherokee Hellcat. That or what a Trackhawk, right?
Oh man, those
things.
Are
that looks awesome.
Amazing.
And you've got
amazing.
ample
they
seating.
Basically just take a motor out of a Hellcat and put it into a Grand Cherokee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
How fast do you want to go?
Yeah, exactly.
They're actually thinking about doing that to Ram, kind of off subject, but they're actually
really
talking about putting one into the Ram, and I think the 21 or 22 model, they're going to have a version of the Rebel, I think it is, or some sort of track version, kind of like they had an SRT back in the day. But I think that'll be kind of neat. But yeah, same thing from the Grand Cherokee and the Hellcat, put it in the Ram. But nevertheless.
They better, keep using those engines before, what's his name, Elon Musk comes in and gives you like a battery terminal to replace all of that.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Nobody's talking about electric trucks. I saw an electric truck from Elon Musk. I mean, the thing looked cool, right? You guys probably saw that a couple months back before this whole deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's the point.
There's another company that does it too. I think Ravinia or
Rivian or something.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that too.
They had a truck and an SUV. Those are the two vehicles that they were doing, but I'm not sure what's the latest on that. I mean, that was like maybe last year or so they were talking about it. And it was like $70,000 and you would get, the base level truck from them. It was kind of cool. You had like where normally your gas tank is,
right.
It's like a storage compartment now because, obviously you don't need gas, but yeah, it was actually pretty cool looking, but I don't know the latest on it.
Well, this has been a great episode. Tyler, appreciate your involvement. Doug, definitely appreciate your contributions to this thing. I wanted to close this little bit out with kind of a reminder, especially for people with JKs, 11 to, what would that be, 18? There is a high mount backup camera kit at Infotainment.com. You definitely got to check out, whether it's just for the high mount that goes behind your spare tire there on the back door, or you're thinking, hey, I want the whole kit with the programmer, so you don't need to involve a dealer to get a safety feature put onto your vehicle. It is the 11 to 18 Jeep Wrangler rear backup camera kit upgrade from Infotainment.com. Easy plug and play install. We'll be back in a minute here to close things out with a list, 16 facts every Jeep lover should know. Let's hear from a couple of these people over here. Hold on.
Hey, neighbor, what are you doing? Working on this Jeep?
Yeah, hey, buddy. Yeah, man. I'm my daughter is old enough to drive now, so what I'm doing is I'm adding this factory touchscreen navigation radio and this backup camera kit so that when she's driving, it'll be as safe as possible.
Oh, wait. So you're changing the radio and you're adding a backup camera?
That's
Don't
right.
you need a dealer for all that?
No, I don't. Nope. I do not. I found this website. It's called Infotainment.com, and they sell factory plug-and-play radio upgrades, touchscreen navigation. Everything is pre-programmed, and it's do-it-yourself.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So what about my 15 Chevy Suburban?
Yeah.
My son, Matt, he's actually only 1 year away from driving.
Right.
And it has navigation, but I wanted to add Apple CarPlay to it.
Okay. Yeah, just go to Infotainment.com, enter the year, make, and model, and you find there they have a retrofit kit that will upgrade that Suburban with more current factory gear to add that safety feature of the Apple CarPlay and the Android Auto like the newer vehicles have.
Exciting. I'm going to check them out today.
Awesome. Don't forget, tell a friend and give the gift of safety. Infotainment.com.
Infotainment.com.
Infotainment.com. All right, there you go. Infotainment.com, a lovely little spot talking about telling a friend. And if you don't know, that's how it goes. You don't have sports to talk about. Well, besides the NFL draft last night, I am Joel at Infotainment Talk Radio. Doug, Tyler on the line with me over there. How you guys?
Doing well.
Good. So let's run through this list here. What if you guys just take odds or evens, and then I'll just chime in on every third one or something like that. Doug, you want to kick us off on this list? It's from Thrillist.com. It's 16 facts every Jeep lover should know.
Actually, Tyler, if you don't mind, why don't you jump on that first one? I'm still loading. My internet's running a little slow.
I can do it.
Here.
I can do it for sure. Let me start things out. And then whoever can come in, and we'll just go 1, 2, 3 on until this list is done. So the original Jeep was designed in just 2 days. Did you know that this one says, with the United States involvement in World War II on the horizon, the government recognized a desperate need to replace its aging fleet of Model Ts, calling for small, lightweight, 3-seat, 4-wheel drive. Karl Probst started to work on his design for a barely known solvent truck company called Bantam on July 17th, 1940, and finished just 2 days later. By the 22nd, the entire proposal, including cost estimates, was handed in to Uncle Sam. So Jeep, American ingenuity, 48 hours. Here's a proposal. For these
wow, pretty cool.
Yeah, even today, that turnaround time is unheard of. Like, I don't know where they got all that time. They must have had a lot of manpower to get that done.
Oh man, you're not kidding.
Awesome.
You know, but that's a cool origin story, and I love that kind of, born out of this great necessity, to stop the horrible atrocities going on overseas. And, so that was the origin of the Jeep. So if you don't know that, you know it now, and you could tell it to a friend. Next one up, Tyler, you might be ready to take that, or Doug?
Yeah, I can go. So Ford, Willys, and Bantam then further developed the concept. Bantam didn't have the capabilities to produce the sheer quantity needed to fight the Nazis. So the Army brought Willys and Ford to the table and handed them the blueprints.
Damn.
Ford had a number of innovations on its Pygmy design, while the Willys quad shown even featured 4-wheel steering.
That's cool.
It's like the meeting of the minds there. You get the Avengers all coming together.
We gotta come together. That's right. We gotta.
At that time, they were competitors, right? So they said, man, we need so many vehicles. The Army needed so many. So hey, let's just all get together and let's get something going.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's awesome to see, and that's a good reminder even for any time. Coming together, you're stronger. Like the damn Avengers. I love it.
I'll take the next one. The front legendary shape was actually Ford's contribution.
Oh. With
the war looming, emphasis on both quality and ease of production meant Willys had to adopt several components, not the least of which was the Pygmy's flat front grille. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to that, attractive little front little part of it there. I mean, it looks like a little beast or creature in itself. I mean, maybe that's why I'm drawn to it. It looks like it is its own little creature with that grill and the little headlight eyes. And anyway, today, number 4, fact here, today the Willys MB is considered an international historic mechanical engineering landmark. So, you can officially count the Society of Mechanical Engineers as fans on that one. Going to number 5.
Yeah, number 5. No one really knows how the name Jeep came to be. Well, it's commonly thought that Jeep is a truncation of General Purpose Vehicle, or GP. That's likely wrong. Ford's version was officially named the GPW, where G means government, P refers to the distance between the wheels, 80 inches, and W stands for Willys.
Yeah.
Since the vehicles Ford produced were technically under license from Willys. Alternately, some say it was common lingo to refer to all military prototypes as Jeeps, and that Peeps even entered the lexicon briefly. All we know is maybe.
Interesting.
Definitely.
I'll take the next one. The most interesting theory is that Jeep is named after a cartoon character.
Huh?
The little guy's name is Eugene the Jeep. He's a character in Popeye that was first drawn up a few years prior to the Bantam 4x4.
Interesting. No, there you go. Little character. They're not saying that's 100%. Little Jeep character. Number 7, in the 4x4's first public outing, it was driven up the steps of the U.S. Capitol. Wow. Can I butcher that? Anyway, anyone need lunch meat? You want to put a roast in? I'll put you on making a nice lamb roast here. All right. In the 4x4's first public outing, it was driven up the steps of the U.S. Capitol. When asked what it was, the driver simply replied, "It's a Jeep." 2 years later, Willys Overland filed a trademark application.
Awesome.
Number 8. Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, the famed CJ name stands for civilian Jeep. Sorry. Stands for civilian
Okay.
Jeep. I'm good. Trust
Okay.
me. I'm not sick.
Okay, good.
For the first time, Willys were available to civilians after the war.
So the CJ, yeah, like I think we talked a little about that too. Okay, cool. Doug's got number 9.
The Willys station wagon was the forerunner to the modern SUV. Willys intended to sell its vehicles mostly as utilitarian farm vehicles. As it turns out, farm vehicles can be pretty fun. And almost as soon as the war ended, the Willys station wagon hit the streets and trails.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so then we've got number 10, the Willys station wagon. That's pretty cool stuff. This is the station wagon's replacement, the Wagoneer. Am I on the right number? 10?
Yep.
When it came to replace the station wagon, the Wagoneer had modern conveniences like an automatic transmission and power steering, kicking off the long route to the luxurious rides dotting the landscape today. So that's cool. They changed with the times and kind of even, said, this is what you're interested in. Here's the first SUV. That's awesome.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Number 11. Pretty much everyone copied the original Jeep. Land Rover at least had a few innovations on the Series I, but Toyota even used Jeep in its advertising.
Jeez.
Until a less than friendly call from attorneys convinced it to change to Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
Plenty of other companies around the world have made copies under license, including Mitsubishi and Ford.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that. And again, this is Thrillist.com. This list comes from, so we think it's all true. It was a pretty reputable company there. Anyway, okay, and Doug's up next on that one.
All right, number 12. Jeep's owners have been all over the map, literally and figuratively. In 1953, Willys Overland was bought by Kaiser Motors, which was eventually sold to AMC.
Wow.
AMC was then bought by first Renault, then Chrysler.
Oh.
Since then, Chrysler has been owned or merged with Daimler, a private firm whose investments are overseen by Dan Quayle, the U.S. Canadian government, and now Fiat.
Really? Wow. That's interesting. I didn't know Dan Quayle was involved there. Didn't he get shot or something? No, that's the other guy. What was Dan Quayle? Oh, that's when, I'm getting all mixed up. That's when, the guy who went duck hunting, Cheney, shot somebody, or they went quail hunting.
Oh, that's
what
right.
I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Cheney accidentally shot somebody. Dan Quayle was the one they thought was not very intelligent, but clearly he's running that stuff, right? Wasn't he a VP to the first Bush? I don't know. Anyway.
I think he was on SNL skit, that guy.
yeah, well, that's right. He was played by Dana Carvey. You're right. Ross Perot. You can't, Can I finish? All right, we better finish this list. We're going on quite low. All right, so let's go. What am I? Number 13, Jeeping. I have got number 13 here. Jeeping is a sport unto itself. A man named Mark A. Smith organized the first Jeep trek across the Rubicon Trail near Lake Tahoe in 1953. They never stopped since, and today, Jeep Jamborees are large enough to warrant Jeep bringing unique concept vehicles to thank those loyal fans. So I never knew that's where the Rubicon came from. Oh,
Maybe that's where it is. That's the first. Now that I'm reading this,
wow.
Maybe that's where it came from.
That's pretty cool. Well, yeah, I think they're saying Jeep bringing to warrant Jeep bringing unique concept vehicles to thank the loyal fans. That's pretty cool. I mean, that kind of indicates to me like, hey, you know, we're going to use this Rubicon name. It goes all the way back to our history in 53. That's pretty cool. I mean, and I like
that.
Yeah, the expedition factor, you know, where you get all these Jeeps together. I mean, they've been doing that ever, you know, that's 70 years of people doing that. That's pretty crazy. Anyway.
That's awesome.
Well, you're going to need a Jeep Rubicon to get through that Rubicon Trail probably.
That's right.
You know.
That's right.
Those are a little bit more beefed up than the others, so that's kind of cool. That makes sense.
And drink a Pepsi-Cola as well. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, 3 more.
Here we go.
All right, 14. Okay, the Expediciones de las Americas is the most badass road trip you've never heard of.
What?
A couple of decades after starting the Jamboree, Mark A. Smith led an expedition of Jeeps on the longest off-road trip in history, trekking 21,000 miles over some of the world's most inhospitable terrain, from the southernmost tip of Chile to the northern reaches of Alaska.
Jeez.
Wow. There's a video to accompany it.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, check out that video if you can. That is a cool journey, but that is tip to tip. You know, the United States.
21,000 miles.
That is insane.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all the way. Wow. Anyway, that is incredible. I think Doug's got the next one.
All right, number 15. In 1959, Jeep introduced a special version just for resorts.
What?
Depending on the market, it was called the Soirée or the Gala, and it featured a fringe line canvas top, not unlike a Fiat Jolly.
Oh, so it was like those little porter vehicles, you know, and I guess golf carts kind of came to replace it, sounds like. I think is what they're talking about there.
Yeah.
You know, that's interesting. So to round up this list and to close things out here, the USPS mail Jeeps led to the Hummer. Kinda. In addition to supplying the military with vast quantities of vehicles, Jeep produced the USPS mail trucks for 30 years. To keep up with production, it established a separate facility for government orders. After the AMC takeover, the facility was made into a separate company, AM General, which went on to produce the Hummer. Thank you very much. Interesting. Well, there you go. That whole list, 16 things every Jeep owner should know, is Thrillist.com. Going back kind of to our flow here. I do want to thank both of you guys for giving me some time on this session. We do want to thank those who listen and share Infotainment Talk Radio. And we do want to thank Infotainment.com for all the awesome upgrades. Guys, anything in closing? We ran over our normal. We were going to do this. Going to be a quick show, but we kind of got to talking a lot. So anything in closing you guys want to throw out there?
I just want to get back to the swing of things here, but I want to get in a Wrangler right now and just drive.
Yeah,
but
I know
you can do it.
But yeah, I mean, we got some exciting new stuff coming out, right, Doug?
Yeah, we got some great things coming out. We've had some great things out already for the JK for a while now. Now that the JL and the JT, the Gladiator, are in full swing, we did an upgrade of the base model radio up to the 8.4 inch for the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and embedded GPS navigation. That's been great. We can do upgraded clusters. So those of you who bought the Sport package, you got the small little EVIC cluster. We can upgrade you to the digital one, which is pretty neat. Those are found in Saharas and Rubicons, whatnot. Satellite radio, plug and play satellite radio kit, so you can add that. We're getting into LED headlights and fog lights, factory plug and play. That's going to be pretty neat. Blind spot monitoring, if you want to add blind spot monitoring to your Wrangler JL or your JT Gladiator.
Yep.
We're going to have those kits available by this summer.
That's
all
awesome.
Plug and play.
Awesome.
Great safety feature. Those of you who like taking your Jeep off road and you're going up and you're doing a climb and your vehicle shuts off because of the auto start stop feature. There's nothing more annoying than that. And then getting into the car, every time you get in, you press that button to shut that auto start stop off. Well, we have a little module partnered with obdgenie.com.
That's a great
and
one.
a little thing that just plugs in behind your climate controls, and that disables that. So that's a cool one there too. So we're always engineering, doing some great things at Infotainment, and be sure to check them out.
For sure. That's Infotainment.com, and whether you run a business and you're interested in reselling these plug-and-play factory upgrades, or you are an individual interested in performing your own do-it-yourself plug-and-play upgrade, Infotainment.com is definitely the industry leader. For myself, Joel, Doug, Tyler, we're going to say thank you all for your time. Go out and drive a Jeep. We appreciate your time on this All Things Jeep edition. Got a couple commercial spots to close us out here, so let's do some of that, and we will do some of that. There we go. Driving in a vehicle without a working radio can be a painful experience. That long commute is now a miserable trip. At Infotainment.com, we merge nav repair services, and now you can repair, replace as an easy-to-select and purchase product on our website. So now, shorten the time you have to drive without a factory radio in your vehicle. Repair, replace your factory radio with nav repair services at Infotainment.com. Ford, GM, Chevy, Dodge, Jeep, Chrysler, Ram, plug-and-play factory radio repair, replace, or upgrade. Infotainment.com, your one-stop shop for factory radio solutions. In 1665, following an outbreak of the bubonic plague in England, Cambridge University closed its doors, forcing Isaac Newton to return home to Woolsthorpe Manor. While sitting in the garden there one day, he saw an apple fall from a tree, providing him with the inspiration to eventually formulate the laws of universal gravitation. Got some extra time on your hands? Discover your vehicle's potential. Do the research. Ask the experts. Infotainment.com is over a decade old and specializes in plug-and-play factory radio upgrades, touchscreen factory navigation radios, or retrofit kits to add more current safety features like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, all while keeping the car or truck you already love. It's Infotainment.com. Discover your vehicle's potential.
Are you tired of your old standard mirrors in your 2013 to 2019 Ram truck? If so, come to Infotainment, where we offer options to get power folding mirrors in your truck. We order directly from Mopar. Visit Infotainment.com, where we have the latest and greatest upgrades for your vehicle. Infotainment.com.
Infotainment.com.
Infotainment.com. Visit Infotainment.com, where we have the latest and greatest upgrades for your vehicle.